You are tuned in to WSPN, Women's Sports Prime Network, the home of empowerment in women's sports. Yeah, just about any sort of conversation. So if you're willing to get yourself into this, make sure to tune in right now to the show, and I'll be more than happy to respond to your comments and whatnot. So let's get it running. Everything is going to be awesome, and softball is a great sport, if you ask me. And I want you to just throw like a lady, throw like a girl, and give yourself a good time. So let's showcase some good stuff here. I hope that you're all willing to get into this, and let's get ourselves started here. Boom. All right. I was just sharing the show, getting things flowing and running, and I hope that the format that I'm using is okay with all of you out there. This is just gonna be audio as always, but let's get things flowing and running. Let's get things running. So one of my biggest hot takes, I've discussed this before, and I've talked about it. It's on women playing with trans women, and that is something that it mind boggles me in a way, because there is some slight disadvantage in some sort of way. If there is a trans girl that uses enhancement drugs to make them look more female like, or any sort of that stuff, they're having extra of what women naturally produce, like estrogen and stuff like that. And even if you want to believe it or not, there is some slight disadvantage and slight differences right there on that. And I don't like to put this out there. I don't like to be talking a little political, but trans women should have their own league, even though you might argue there ain't many out there that are trans and are willing to play a sport, and you might digress. I might think otherwise, and that's how I see things, and it's not always the case that trans women shouldn't be playing on women's sports, but the federal government is trying to a bit from that. They're trying to throw a bill to be opposed on that and not have trans women be part of the women's sports leagues. We saw recently that in a high school softball team, they played the whole series, and the pitcher was a trans woman, and she did all 21 pitches straight, nonstop, and she defeated the other team. And those are things that we need to keep in mind when it comes to talking about if women should be part of a league with this trans women. That's a take that it's sure gonna cancel me in any shape and form. It is, and it's been going through my head this whole time. And I've been trying not to think about it that much, but it's a topic that really goes through my mind, for the fact that I'm not against trans women, but I do think, even though there ain't much of a scientific study on this, which I would love to see some scientific back up on this, but I do think that trans women should have their own league, the same way that Special Olympics has their own leagues. There are some slight differences, even if you digress. Sure, a woman can be as strong as a male, or vice versa, but you know, it mind boggles me. And I threw my last podcast episode where I discussed this before on Reddit, and 1,900 people were commenting back and forth, and some of them said, I have actually witnessed and have actually been part of conversations with women that are annoyed, that don't want to participate in any sport where there's a trans woman. That's a thing. That's the thing, and women have actually explicitly, vocally, really loudly had said it before. They're not comfortable playing with a trans woman. Not for the fact that it's a trans woman. No, that's not the case. The case is more that they have a slight advantage in a way. What if this lady hasn't used any enhancement drugs, and when she was still considered a male, she would do lots of exercise that would make her stronger and stuff like that. And when they will transition to the female leagues, they make them advantage. They make them have an advantage because they're stronger. They have more agility and stuff like that. And like I said before, I know there are women that are stronger or as strong as males, but that's not the case here. It's just that many women, I've heard it before, they are not comfortable. Not at all. For two reasons. The two reasons I've heard is, I feel there's a slight advantage, and second, I don't think it's okay. Those are the two main reasons that I've heard. And now the federal government has been going for a while back and forth that women should play on women's sports, males should play in male sports, and trans women should not participate in women's sports, and vice versa, Someone was arguing that if Aaron Judge would transition to being Aaron Judge and becoming a woman, quote unquote, it would have 20 miles per hour less than what he would as a male. And I digress. I don't think that you lose too much mass. And second, there are two types of trans. There's the transsexual and the transgender. The transsexual is the one that completely transforms and changes and transitions to the other biological gender, right? But there is the other type that just simply cross-dresses and tries to live the life of a lady without going through any medical or surgery or any of that stuff, procedures. And it's literally that person would still be a male cross-dressing. And if that be the case, that makes it more difficult for women to participate in their own sports if they were partaking with trans, By all means, I'm not opposed if in your school there's only one single trans person, and that single trans person wants to play on a sport and wants to be part of the women's league. Then by all means, do what you feel comfortable doing. That is just my opinion. I'm not trying to change your mind or any of that kind of stuff. I'm just trying to let you know what I think is a better take on this. By all means, if you are a trans woman and you're the only one in the school or in college or in your nearby leagues that are available, by all means, do what you can if they accept you. That's okay. That's totally fine. I'm not gonna argue that. But the problem is, if the ladies that are partaking on that league feel uncomfortable. That's the whole dealio that I'm talking about. You know, I'm not saying that women or trans women shouldn't partake where they feel comfortable, but we have to think about the entire community on this. You know, we can't just be thinking on that one individual. You know, we have to think about the mass majority. And if the mass majority feels uncomfortable, then there is a problem. There is a problem there, and we gotta think about it. You know. And that's a problem that we might see at some extent, you know. And I'm not one to say that that's bad and no 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 don't do that and yada yada. But you know we have to take things as they are, you know, and be careful with how we deal with this sort of scenario and situation, you know. It's a little complicated if you ask me. Just a little complicated if you ask me. Um, I've been trying to see different points of views on how this could be a thing, and how could this not be a thing, and it's super difficult. You know, let's check in what the people were commenting on my post. You know, and let's give myself a little check here. You know. So let's get the comments here for a second, if I can see this here for a second. Okay, here we go. So there is this one person, 403 Bananas says, the issue is too new and too niche to have any significant long-term studies come out yet. But the anecdotal evidence suggests that the gender transition doesn't fully translate. For example, if Usain Bolt were to transition, he's not going to run 9.58. Instead, with the hormones and physical transformation he goes through, he's just the pronoun he previously used for the sake of simplicity. It's more likely he runs 10.49 range, you know, with it, which is still the record holder range, but on the women's side, you know. And it's in short, if you are a 0.01% of trained male athlete, you likely be in the 0.01% of trained female athletes. But on the female scale, Jeff Epstein's book, The Sports Gene, has a couple of chapters on this topic, you know. And really, do you think someone is really going to give up 2 to 3 years of their life to go through the hormone and medical treatments, give up their athletic / power edge, and be vinylized by a big chunk of society just so they can take less money and get less attention in their sport? You know, that's a really good take there, and that really showcases the complexity of this, and how we should be viewing things differently. You know, that could be a great point of view, but the thing is, even though in that explanation, Usain Bolt will be running slower as a trans woman, he is still doing record-breaking numbers, but just on the female side. So there is still a disadvantage in a way. You know, you weren't thinking straight on your answer, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's still a disadvantage because, you know, we have to be careful on how we discuss this topic, and how we actually go through with this, you know, because there are many things that show us the opposite side of things. But as this person was saying, Usain Bolt would be doing 9.48 as a male, and as a trans woman would be doing 10.49. But that is still a record-breaking number on the women's side, you know. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe there is some science being made, being studied that proves us wrong. You know, that showcases the fact that transitioning to being a woman or transitioning to being a male doesn't change much of your biological self other than your physical appearance when you go through the surgery or you start changing some of your physical looks, you know? And that's the whole problem. That's the whole dealio that I'm trying to put out there. There ain't no like concrete science behind the change, but it could potentially give us some groundbreaking evidence, groundbreaking results, you know. And for those of you that are listening right now, chat down below. What are your thoughts on trans women actually participating in female leagues? Do you have any thoughts on this, or are you indifferent with the topic? The federal government is trying to put a bill in most states, if not all states, that trans women should not participate in women's league and vice versa. You know, trans males shouldn't be going to male leagues. There should be a specific league for these women, just like there is Special Olympics and stuff like that, you know, and the basketball league where all the players are in wheelchairs, you know. Those things are what the federal government is trying to put out there, you know. And the thing is, trans women and trans male want to be accepted as what they feel, you know. And putting them on a different league makes them feel excluded, just like how special people sometimes feel alienated for being in a special league, you know. And that's the problem that we're facing. And if that bill actually goes through, that's gonna give the trans women and the trans male some outrage. They're gonna go to the White House. They're gonna go to the Capitol or something, to Washington D.C. or something, and they're gonna just go nuts and crazy. Like, what are you doing? That's not how it goes. You should have been giving us rights to participate in women's league or in males league. And I'm like, whoa, hold your horses, you know. I'm not opposed in that way, but I do think that we should explore the topic a little more before we decide anything, you know. Do these males have an advantage or disadvantage well, when transitioning and going to the league they feel more comfortable playing in? We need to do those studies to actually get some evidence if there is actually a problem. You know what I'm getting at? And those are the things we haven't researched completely. There's only slight research out there, you know. And sure, we could argue, like I've said many times, we could argue that women, when males, when they transition to women, they lose some mass, muscular mass, or they start to go through some hormonal change. You know, like, for example, my favorite band, Rush. There is a rumor and a theory, a conspiracy theory, that the vocalist actually was putting himself estrogen and to make himself sing higher, you know, and more thin and more female like, you know. And I'm like, well, if that changes your voice, does it change your muscle mass? It could be a thing, but like I said before, there hasn't been any concrete study on this, and I would love to see some concrete study on this, you know. more in the sense of sports, because there's probably is some studies in a general broad in a general terms, but I want more of a sports specific, sports specific, and mostly on sports um that are more competitive, not more of those sports where it's like single. Like, sure, you can argue that golf, the one that you jump on the sand, which I forgot the name of that, pole jumping, is competitive, sure, because you're competing on the other people's score, but it's mostly a singular sport because you're just you and the pole, you and the sand, you and the score, the swing. It's on you. It's on you. It's not a team-based sport. I would like to see this more on a team-based sport where many different players are going back and forth. That's what I'm trying to find out. And I know that many of you might be thinking, "Oh, but Andre, what are you talking about? Stop blabbering." No, this is a serious topic. This is a serious thing that we should be talking about. I've only heard on the big media this being discussed by Fox News, and this should be a bigger thing. I want you all to be discussing this. Sadly, where I posted it on Reddit, since it was a softball Reddit subreddit about young women, like U8, U15, and U12, U10, and sadly they took down my post after so many people were commenting. One of the moderators, but I still want more discussion on this. I still want more people talking about it. And if you're listening right now, don't be afraid to chat down below and let me know your thoughts. I want you to tell me your thoughts. I'm curious. Are you in favor of this? Are you not in favor of this? Are you indifferent about it? I want you to tell me. I want you to let me know. I'm more than willing to respond to your comments. This show is not about me talking. It's about interacting with you, the fans, you, the listener. And if you are right now listening and you have some thoughts you want to say, you want to throw in your 5 cents, by all means do so. By all means, give me your 5 cents. I'll be more than happy to respond to your comment, respond to your messages. I am highly passionate about softball. I'm highly passionate about journalism, and I want to make a cool story. And this is my second time talking about this topic in the show, because I've discussed this before personally. And I really want to have an interaction with the listeners right now, because there are many things to be told, and I am willing to get your opinions running. So let's get things started. Let's get flowing, and let's keep ourselves more than open to anything. If you have any friends that love softball, make sure to share this YouTube channel and check out the podcast news articles. And follow me on X to keep the conversation flowing. I post really often on X, and I think that it's a topic to be. It's a topic that I don't think it has a concrete, legit end, because there's always going to be new studies, new advancements. Science continues to grow. Science continues to show us different things every time. And all of you out there, we're just at the tip of the iceberg with this topic. At the tip of the iceberg, So let's get things flowing better. All right. here's the comment on the subreddit that I wanted to actually discuss. You know, all their West oh hey there West commented a day ago and said most women do not want to play with athletes that were born male. Many are speaking out, but many are also fearful or being retaliated against by the public, sponsors, etc. Support the majority of women over the tiny percent of the confused. You know, female athletes fought hard to equality in the NCAA. Professional women's sports are on the rise. College softball ratings are exploding. Fight for women. And then son of a butch said, my question is, where do you want transgender athletes to play? If transitioned women must play on men's team, presumably you want trans men playing on women's teams, but they would have as much or more of a disadvantage, right? That's where I actually mind boggle. You know, these women and these males are slightly different from your average human being, just because they have, you know, they were born male and they're getting themselves female hormones into their body. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not really well researched on this topic, but I'm pretty sure that the male and the female hormones do like some sort of mixture on your body, and then you start having this weird hormonal mix mash and unbalanced hormonal self, and whether we want to accept it or not, they have a slight difference from people that haven't transitioned whatsoever. Are you gonna tell me that you as a male or you as a female putting yourself the opposite gender's hormones inside of you doesn't make you feel some sort of weird mix mash? You know, that is the thing that I am trying to put in the spotlight right here. Like, I'm not against trans women, I'm not against trans males, I'm not against any of that. But things have to be as they are, you know? Or are you gonna tell me if I grab a Sprite and I put in a few drops or mixed a little bit of that Coca-Cola into that Sprite, that it's not gonna have a mix match flavor, it's not gonna feel different? It's not gonna, that won't magically taste like Coca-Cola. That's gonna taste like a mix of the Sprite with the Coca-Cola. I know I'm talking bullcrap right now. I know I'm giving you a really weird example, but that's how I see it. You put the Coca-Cola on the Sprite, and it doesn't magically make the Sprite become a Coca-Cola. It's a mix now. It's a mix of things. You know, the ingredients of the Sprite with the ingredients of the Coca-Cola, and then it doesn't even turn brown. It turns like a gold color. A gold color. That is the point I'm trying to make here. Whether you like it or not, that's the point I am throwing out there. And many of you might argue, many of you might say, no, you threw that Coca-Cola in there, it's going to overtake the Sprite because the Sprite is translucent, and the Sprite is a transparent soda, and it barely has any ingredients compared to the Coca-Cola, so the Coca-Cola is going to take over. Sure, you might have that kind of argument, but I still think it's a mix. It's a mix. It's not really Coca-Cola. You use other ingredients to make Coca-Cola. And you're going to tell me it's now Coca-Cola just because you want me to believe it's Coca-Cola? No, no. I digress. I digress from your thoughts. I digress from your way of seeing things. You know? That's just the way I see it. That's just the way I see it. You might disagree, but I have to disagree to agree. Disagree to agree. I don't know. But many of you have a twisted way of seeing things. And again, I'm not opposed for you doing whatever makes you feel comfortable. I'm actually in favor of doing what makes you feel comfortable. But we have to take in consideration the people that are around you. If they don't want you around, you can't force them to accept you just because you want them to accept you. Just because you're a Sprite and you threw yourself some Coca-Cola on you and you're in the, I am a Coca-Cola now, you have to accept me just because I'm a Coca-Cola. No, you're not. And if the other ones don't want to accept you, that's how it is. You know? That's how I see it. All right, I'm writing here a poll so that everybody of you can answer. All right. Let's start the poll. See if any of you want to answer. But this is a big concern. This is a big thing, you know? And I do think that it might change sports in many different ways, you know? I'm not a traditionalist, but I do think that we have to take things as they are. I have a poll. It's right there if you want to check it out. Should trans people compete? Should they? Should trans people compete in the gender they feel comfortable with in sports? And I'm talking more specifically in organized sports, not in the singular sports where it's you versus the score. You know? That's what I'm talking about. I don't know if anyone feels any different about the situation, but I do think that we have to think things through. You know, because many of us feel different, and lots of us feel different things. Some people might be, okay, sure, do whatever you feel like it. Other people might be like, no, don't do that. That's just the way I see it, you know? That is just the way I see it. I don't know if anyone that's listening feels the way I feel or feels any different. Just let me know in the chat. Don't be afraid. I don't bite. I'm here to just get your opinion. You know, and I'll be back broadcasting more softball on July 7th or around that time if I don't have a chance to do it the exact same day the AUSL comes back. But I do think that we have to talk about this. We do have to talk about this. and it's just a matter of fact, and a matter of just putting your thoughts out there. Don't be afraid. We're not gonna judge you. We're not gonna condemn you for thinking otherwise. You know, if you say yes, fine by me. If you say no, also fine by me. You're entitled to your own opinion. You know, and I'm not gonna stop you from thinking the way that you think. I'm not here to change your mind. I'm here to actually guide you into what the general consensus is. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to change it any other way. I'm not trying to make you feel uncomfortable about the situation. I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know the reality of things, you know? It's a little difficult to get things running out there, you know? But sometimes um you have to analyze things, you know, analyze them as best as you can, you know, and speak with clear mind. Don't just say whatever you think just because you feel passionate about something, you know, in a certain way. You know, that's not how it goes, you know. So that is just me putting it out there, you know. So moving on to different topics, because I might be rambling too much. But don't forget, should trans people compete in the gender they feel comfortable? Let me know, and I'll be more than happy to respond. But moving on to different topics. I haven't been able to watch the WBSC. I haven't been able to watch the WBSC just because I don't have the World's Baseball Softball Confederation subscription, and I don't keep up with this type of softball. Even though I find it interesting and I would love to be part of the discussion, but there's a lot of good teams winning, you know. So let's get ourselves a little bit aware of the rankings so far. Right now, Japan has 6,911. Chinese Taipei has 5558. Venezuela has 4,877. Mexico has 4,769. USA has 4,751. Korea has 4,539. Panama has 3,439. My island, Puerto Rico, has 3,375. Not the best, but not bad either. Cuba has 3,146. Dominican Republic has 2,800. Australia has 2,542. ISV has 82. Bahamas has 51. Thailand has 82. Poland has 14. And Ecuador has 16. I'm glad that Puerto Rico has been ranking and showing good things. And Japan, right now in the latest news, Japan has been confirmed as a WBSC / Konami's men's baseball world ranking #1 at the end of 2024. You know, Japan is one of those countries or islands where they tend to actually show good things. At this point in time in softball with women, Puerto Rico is number 3 in the world. Number 3 in the world. Like, excuse me and sorry, but we are ranking up. Obviously, USA is number one. USA will always be number one in this. Japan is number two. Chinese Taipei is number four. Not surprised. But I'm actually quite surprised that Puerto Rico is at number three. I would have thought that Puerto Rico would have been like more like in 8 or 10 or something like that. Being number three, that is a huge improvement. We are showing up and we're giving the people the struggles. The last time I heard about Puerto Rico, it was against Mexico and it was 10-3 in favor of Puerto Rico. Like, aye, my friend. Like, that is a thing. That is a thing. So if you're able to watch the World's Baseball Softball Confederation before July 7th, I highly recommend you to do so. So yeah, those are some of the stuff that I've been wanting to discuss at this point in time. There are many topics to be talked about right now, but this trans thing is it's catching on. Whether you like it or not, it's catching on. And unfortunately, it's spreading like a plague. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you know how it goes. Unfortunately, I would have thought otherwise, but it is what it is, you know? It is what it is. So in other news out there for softball, we have see, every time I look for softball news, that trans thing just throws out everywhere. It's really bumping up, you know? It's everywhere. They're talking about this. You're gonna have to accept it. At some point, you're gonna have to be okay with it. Let it be, and you won't be able to see it any other way. You know. But we have to you know what? At this point in time, you can't fight it. You can't fight it. It is going to be a thing eventually. Eventually, it's going to be a thing. There are going to be more trans women and more trans males participating on either side. But what really concerns me is if we don't have that study, now that I'm thinking about it, if you don't have that study that for sports specifically, it's not gonna give us the change that we are thinking right now, and it becomes something different. What would happen if, let's say, in the UFC, trans women start to fight against women, or vice versa, trans males start to fight with males? Let's say, for example, there is an advantage. Would that actually disrupt the sport in a way? I don't know. Because one thing I am for sure, sports are really against advantages. They are really against that. Like, really against that. You know, and sports are like I said, sports are against advantages. It don't matter what type of advantage. I remember a long time ago in boxing specifically, there was this boxer that supposedly under his the underglobe, I forgot the name of it. The underglobe, he had um a little bit of cement on the knuckle side, just a slight additive of cement, and I'm like, and not the cement they use for buildings, like, you know, the cement they use in art class. That's that sort of cement, the one they use in art class. And he had a little bit on that knuckle, and he won the fight. When they found out about that, they disqualified the fight, and those points were not attributed. Sports, in any shape or form, they are against advantages. You know? And we can't be throwing advantages out there just because I feel like I need to be this way. I need to do this, you know? I don't know. I don't know if you feel otherwise or if you feel different about things, but that's just how sports are built. You know, they're built upon the idea that everything should be played fair. That is why softball has challenges. That is why you can review a play, because things should be fair. Fair, again, I repeat, FAIR, fair. And if they are not fair, I would think that the points or the advancement to progress further in the sport should be frowned upon. And I might get canceled by this for saying that, you know? But it's all in the result when we actually get to study if this is an advantage or not. But if it is, I don't know. And you can counter argue me that there are certain sports that are co-ed. But, you know, like kickball. Kickball is a co-ed sport. But when a sport is co-ed, hear me out. When a sport is co-ed, it is meticulously confectioned in a way that none of the genders would have advantages. For example, you know those sports that are similar to the Ninja Warrior competition, the American Ninja Warrior competition? There are certain competitions where they actually make them co-ed. What they do is they form a team, a co-ed team on both sides, and they make each event go head to head with the same gender. First game, boom, male versus male. Second game, female versus female. You don't see both teams going with the different genders unless it's one of those tug of war kind of thing, or any sort of event similar to that, where they balance out the female and the males in a way that there's no advantage or disadvantage, and the event can flow as accordingly. You know, that is something that we can actually put out there. You know, and I am deeply sorry, like from the bottom of my heart, if anything that I've said offended you. I'm not trying to offend. I'm not trying to make you feel belittled. I'm just here to just put my point out there, you know, to put my point out there that um, we need clear scientific study to actually make a concrete conclusion. Because at this point in time, most people are just throwing random thoughts, random words, random sentences about the topic. And we can't be just throwing random thoughts out there and not have the clear scientific evidence that what we're saying is true. Because at the end of the day, science is what matters. We need to know the truth before we, throw any judgment out there, Just saying. And that is just the thoughts that I had for you today. You could have answered the poll, but that's okay. I'll be back some other time to continue discussing more topics, more hot takes on softball. And I hope that you all get to have a wonderful night. And I'll see you all the next time. Remember, Softball AUSL Pro Softball is coming back July 7th. So stay in tune, because I'll have some of that running and flowing soon. So as always, swing for the fences, and let's get it. I'm Andrew Benzark, and I'm signing out. Bye.